Hi, this is Scott Geitler from Blue Water Photo, and today I'm going to talk about the Ikelite housing for the Sony A6300, A6400, and A6500 cameras. And I'm really excited that we are testing this housing out and diving with it because it has a lot of really exciting differentiating features that some I knew about, some I didn't, that I'm really excited about. First of all, as you can tell, this housing is one of the only housings that I know of that works with all three cameras. The A6300, 6400, and A6500, which is great in case, you know, at some point you decide to upgrade or you have a backup that's a different version. Being able to shoot all three in one housing gives you a lot of flexibility. What I have here is the A6400 camera. Now, the Sony A6400 camera replaces the A6300. It's 24 megapixels. It's a crop sensor mirrorless camera, which means the sensor is larger than Micro Four Thirds sensors like Olympus and Panasonic, but not as large as the full frame Sony A7R III. But this is a very, very fast focusing camera. Sony really put in some improvements in the autofocus. So in terms of all the Sony mirrorlesses for sharks, dolphins, sea lions, and on land, anything tracking, extremely fast responsiveness we found in using this camera over the last few days. Has 11 frames per second burst mode. The LCD screen is flips out and turns 180 degrees, which Sony gave you that ability because it wants to appeal to the vlogger market. So a lot of great things about this camera. Like I said, all three of those cameras fit into the Ikelite housing. Let's take a look at this housing for a minute. It's very small, much smaller than a DSLR. It's very lightweight. It has something that I think of as like a signature Ikelite style, which is the clear back, which means that if there's ever anything happens, having you get any moisture or water drop on your dive, you'll see it immediately, which is really nice. An extremely rugged and secure housing. So I would feel very comfortable in very tough extreme conditions surf with this housing because of the way it's constructed. And you can see the latches are very secure, and you can just tell in handling this material that it could practically be run over by a semi truck and still be fine. So this housing has a small tray that goes on the camera, and it slides inside the housing. Putting the camera inside the housing is very simple. You simply move the controls out, you slide everything in, you put the controls back down, and if you're using the optional electronic sync cord here, you would put this into the hot shoe of your camera and you would close it up. Very easy to open, very easy to close. It uses a single compression O-ring, which means you don't even have to lube it. As long as the O-ring is in place, it'll do an excellent job of keeping water out of this housing. The labels for the buttons on the rear of the housing are actually laser etched into the back panel, so they will not erode. It's very easy to see what these buttons are, which is really nice. This has a sync port for your strobes, so you can fire any kind of strobe. You can use a sync cord here, Ikelite style, if you want the fastest possible shooting, or it also has fiber optics right here, so you can put in a CNC style fiber optic cable and you can fire strobes using the internal pop-up flash and the fiber optic cables. So one of the great things that I really like about this housing is the optional TTL converter. This TTL converter, which it doesn't even need a battery, it's powered by the strobes itself, which is great because I've seen a lot of people in the field have problems with TTL converters because of the batteries running out or can't find the right battery. This gives excellent TTL with Ikelite strobes, and because of the fast speed and autofocus of this camera, I think you're going to find that the A6400 with Ikelite TTL and the DS160 or the DS51 strobes is going to be a very popular setup for high-speed action underwater photography. People, sharks, dolphins, sea lions. You're going to get very, very accurate exposures, and you're going to be able to shoot and keep up with the speed of the camera, because Ikelite strobes can recycle much faster than other strobes. They have a much warmer color temperature, which means you're going to get better colors in your photos. So there's really a lot of advantages using the TTL converter and the high-speed Sony mirrorless cameras that you're not going to get with any other setup. So one of the best things about this housing is that it works with pretty much any Sony lens or any Canon lens that you would use an adapter to put on this, or like the Kina fisheye. The Ikelite port system is very, very modular. They have 4-inch domes, they have 6-inch domes, they even have an 8-inch dome, which we'll get into in a minute. But they have different extension rings, so more so than most other housings, you can use pretty much any lens that will work on this camera, which is really nice if you want to try something out unique, or you get a different lens, or you want to do really close focus wide angle, and especially the split shots. If you want to do split shots, the Ikelite housing supports an 8-inch dome with 10 to 18 millimeter lens. Now you can't zoom, you would keep it at 10 millimeters, but for split shots, you're always going to be taking your shots at 10 millimeters anyway. So I think that's a really great option to have, because I know a lot of you have told me you really want to do some split or over under shots, and it can be very, very difficult using a dome smaller than 8 inches, in my opinion. So that's a nice selling feature. I do want to show you their 6-inch dome. You'll note the zoom gear on the dome. The zoom gear works very nicely. It's easy to grab, but they do put their zoom gears on the domes, which means that at the present time, if you're using a macro port, you don't have zoom capability, but for something like the Sony 50 millimeter macro lens or the 90 millimeter macro lens, that's not really an issue anyway. So you won't be needing to zoom those lenses. Last but not least, this housing includes a vacuum system. So the great thing about this is it's very simple, easy to use. It's foolproof. They have a little valve here, and I just pull this off. I stick this in, and I pump it up, and I pump for about a minute until it reads about 15 on this dial. And then you wait a couple minutes and you see if the vacuum holds, and if the vacuum holds, you know your housing is set up correctly and it's going to hold for the dive. So then you just use 2 hands and pull that out. Put that back in, and you're all good to go on the dive. And remember, with an Ikelite housing, if for any reason there ever was water in your housing, you would be able to see it immediately, and you would be able to gently come up and hopefully save everything in your housing. So to summarize about this housing, what I really like about it, besides the included vacuum system, you can do split shots with an 8-inch dome. It works with a large variety of lenses because of the different extension rings. But I think most of all is the TTL converter, which works with the Ikelite strobes, which, based on my own anecdotal testing, probably is the best TTL system out there in terms of accurate TTL. Whether it's macro, wide angle, the Ikelite TTL converters seems to work very well historically compared to other TTL systems like the TTL built into some other strobes. It's just not as accurate as Ikelite's. So that's going to allow you to truly take advantage of the fast focusing and high-speed shooting capabilities of this setup. That's going to give you some amazing photos of sharks, dolphins, moving rays, anything that's basically moving in front of you. And also the fact that it works with all 3 cameras is great. So If you have any questions at all about the Sony cameras, lenses, the Ikelite housing, the ports, don't hesitate to reach out to us at bluewaterphotostore.com or email sales@bluewaterphotostore.com. And thank you very much for watching the video.